The content of this program represents the opinions, research, and observation of the host and his assessment of scientific evidence available at this time. None of the statements, claims, techniques, dietary guidelines, or supplements mentioned in this program have been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. The information contained herein is for educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for standard care provided by medical practitioners. Any application of the advice presented here is at the listener's own discretion or risk. The information should not be used for self-diagnosis or application. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before beginning any new nutritional, exercise, or lifestyle improvement program. The host and this station disclaim any responsibility for any adverse effects arising from the use or application of information contained in this program. Now broadcasting from his nutritional command center deep in the heart of Victoria, Texas, charging through the swamp of misconceptions, deception, and myths, bringing to you the newest cutting-edge scientific-based nutrition information so you can enjoy whole spectrum health. Here's the paladin of nutrition and whole foods expert, Labron Allen.
Fearlessly waging the battle against your health freedoms and medical tyranny, I'm your host, Labron Allen, and this is Health Alert. In just a few moments, we'll go through the health news, but first, let's talk about the main health subject that we'll be discussing in a little bit. We know that the holidays are fast approaching soon. In fact, in just a few days, there will be Thanksgiving, and then the catapult effect and snowball effect of the holidays begins, doesn't it? One of the things that many bemoan about the holidays, other than the stress and the amount of money that it costs them, is that they gain weight during the holidays. And so this show is going to be all about what you can do to mitigate that detrimental effect. Now, this is going to be a frank show. It's not going to be sugar-coated. I'm going to be totally blunt with what you will need to do if you're actually serious about not having the weight gain during this holiday season. But first, the health news. Well, Big Brother is at it again. This time, what they are doing is putting tracking devices in asthma inhalers. Yes, you heard that correctly. They are putting tracking devices in asthma inhalers. Of course, it is for your benefit because, oh my goodness, what happens if you have an asthmatic attack and no one is there to save you? Well, Big Brother is there to help you, and perhaps Big Sis as well. According to Wired magazine, a new smart asthma inhaler, which is designed to work in conjunction with a computer suite, allows health professionals to track when a patient is having an asthmatic attack, including tracking the location of the patient when the attack is occurring. Well, I hope that makes you feel safer. Of course, this will never, ever be used to your detriment, only to your benefit. The software suite called Asthmopolis. Isn't that a cute name? Asthmopolis. Sounds like a wonderful utopian city. And which is being sold to consumers as a safety feature, is supposed to help both patients and healthcare providers alike better monitor the behavior of asthma. Wow, asthma has a mind of its own. That's interesting. How the system works is by Bluetooth. It's a Bluetooth-enabled sensor that patients attach to their inhaler. Every time the inhaler is used, the sensor records both the time and the patient's location. Using a smartphone or base station, that information is in turn transferred to Asthmopolis servers, where the data can be used by individuals to track their response to treatments or by public health officials to spot and map patterns and outbreaks. Well, that certainly does sound wonderful. David Van Sickle, founder and CEO of Asthmopolis, said he was inspired to the concept during his work at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta, where the Federal Health Agency investigated outbreaks of respiratory illness, and then once more when he worked in clinical practice. Now, of course, this technology, this idea, would never be extended once the new healthcare plan becomes fully enacted in this country. Of course, that idea of tracking the location and the different things that patients are doing would never be used against them for health insurance purposes. Of course not. Don't even think that. Big Brother is there to help you, and only to help you. Headline: Are humans devolving? Now, that's quite a question, isn't it? How many times are you in traffic? And ask yourself mentally or out loud in your car, how stupid can a person be? Well, apparently there are some studies suggest that, yes, indeed, people are becoming dumber. This from a study just published in Cell Press Journal, Trends in Genetics, Maybe Humans Are Becoming Less Intelligent. The author, Dr. Gerald Crabtree of Stanford University, well, that's quite a prestigious university. The study suggests that we are losing intellectual and emotional capabilities because the intricate web of genes giving Homo sapiens, that's humans, are supposedly superior to other animal brain power is actually susceptible to dumbing down, and listen to this, to dumbing down mutations. Mutations. Now, think about all the things that we have talked about that actually cause genetic mutations on this program. So here's a brief list. Chemicals, especially pesticides, fertilizers, Roundup being one that showed absolutely positively creates genetic mutations. What is the other big one? Genetically modified organisms create genetic mutations. Now, just in California, in the last few weeks, there was a Proposition 37, that was designed to mandate GMO labeling on any food products that contain the GMO. Well, that lost. There is not going to be GMO labeling on those food products. And so now you will have no idea what things you are putting into your mouth that cause these genetic mutations and your loss of intellectual and emotional capabilities. But who cares? Just keep eating the garbage you eat. However, the problem is that many of the foods that are genetically modified now are actually not garbage. So we're talking about potatoes and tomatoes and many different kinds of vegetables. So it's becoming a serious problem. That is one reason why it is important to continue to purchase and consume certified organic foods. Because, theoretically, there should not be genetically modified organisms in those foods. Continuing on in this study regarding trends in genetics, or humans becoming less intellectual, this Dr. Crabtree, he points out that human intelligence and behavior require the optimal functioning of a rather significant large number of genes. The genes need enormous amounts of components, situations, to be maintained. Dr. Crabtree further predicts in his study, based on the calculations of the frequency with which harmful mutations appear in the human genome, and the assumption that 2,000 to 5,000 genes are required for intellectual ability, that within about 120 generations, if all things continue as they are now, humans will have sustained 2 or more harmful mutations to our intellectual and emotional stability. Dr. Crabtree argues that the combination of less selective pressure combined with a large number of somewhat easily mutated genes is eroding our intellectual and emotional capability. So that gives you pause, does it not? Next headline. This is about the dangers of aspartame. Aspartame is a artificial sweetener used in many different kinds of products. The problem with it is something that often comes up when I am testing a patient in a nutrition response testing exam, and that is a chemical, the chemical name of formaldehyde. Now, unless they go around embalming individuals often, the question is why? Why is there formaldehyde in their body, causing detrimental effects to their organ systems? That's quite a question, isn't it? Well, there can be several reasons. One can be because they get yearly flu vaccines. They actually put formaldehyde, an extremely toxic poisonous substance, in flu vaccines, supposedly as a preservative. However, of course, that's healthy. It maintains your health, right? Just injecting directly into your body formaldehyde. Obviously, that's healthy for you. Well, here's the problem. Here is another source of formaldehyde. So, diet products. These are not foods, they are products that contain aspartame due to a synthetic methyl group that is used in this aspartame. One of the amino acids rapidly breaks down to what is called methanol, also known as a wood alcohol. Now, the sweetness of aspartame is actually largely the result of the methyl alcohol, or the wood alcohol, that is also bonded to another amino acid, which is called phenylalanine. And sometimes people can actually be quite sensitive to that particular amino acid. Now, methyl alcohol, or the wood alcohol, is metabolized differently in the human body compared to animals. Now, see, what happened is that when they were testing, when food manufacturers were testing the wood alcohol, they tested it on across many different species of animals. However, all of those animals metabolize the wood alcohol differently than humans. Animals metabolize the wood alcohols differently than humans. And the wood alcohol is far, far more toxic in humans, which is why studies have trouble nailing down the hazards related to aspartame, because they are relying on the animal studies and not human studies, because human studies, you die. With enough wood alcohol, you die. That's how toxic it is. It is an extreme poison. Now, methyl alcohol, after it's taken up into the human body, it's like a Trojan horse, especially into particularly susceptible tissues like the brain. And once it's taken up into the brain, very rapidly, it converts the methyl alcohol into formaldehyde. Now, when this occurs, it causes severe damage to proteins and DNA that can contribute to obviously quite serious and chronic diseases, not the least of which is cancer, autism, Alzheimer's, and multiple sclerosis. So, taking in artificial sweeteners, even a little bit, you have the extreme potential of forming formaldehyde in the brain tissue, which over time could lead to Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, cancer. So if you like the thought of those diseases and having to deal with them, well, just continue doing the artificial sweetener products. Now, what food manufacturers will argue about regarding the subject is that, hey, veggies and fruits contain methyl alcohol too. Well, here's the thing. Fresh fruits and veggies contain minute amounts of methyl alcohol. But the interesting thing is that they also contain thousands of other chemicals that act as a natural buffer that makes the substance completely harmless. You see, in the synthetically manufactured products, there are no buffers, and therefore you have the full potential of the detrimental effects. Now, one of the natural substances is pectin. Pectin is a fiber. What happens is that the pectin actually binds to the methyl alcohol, or the methanol, and it allows it to simply pass through your bowel. So it's excreted harmlessly, and the human body doesn't have the enzymes to break that bond. So it really renders the minute amounts of methyl alcohol harmless that are contained in veggies and fruit. Isn't that interesting? You see, that's why I have the philosophy of using whole food concentrated supplements in order to repair the human body. The human body is designed to get the things that it needs from food. The problem is, as I've said many times before, that the foods we eat no longer contain all of the nutrients that our bodies require. So they have to be supplemented. And the problem is, as we discussed actually not long ago on the program, that if you use fractionated substances, synthetic substances that are commonly and easily available in stores, health food stores, vitamin manufacturers, natural health professionals, most natural health professionals do use these synthetic fractionated substances. If you choose to use them, then you definitely run the risk of creating other deficiencies later on because of this exact example of how the body deals with naturally occurring methyl alcohol in foods, because of all the other kinds of chemicals that are naturally occurring as well in those foods, and they act as a buffer to the detrimental effects of those particular chemicals. So using whole food concentrates in order to maintain and create your optimal health is paramount. You really cannot do it truly in any other way. You can feel better. You can take a synthetic vitamin. You could take a B-complex vitamin that's actually derived from coal tar, which 99% of them are, and you will feel better. For example, you could take vitamin B12, which is a majority of them extracted from cyanocobalamin, and have it either sublingual or injected into your body, and you will feel better because it's merely acting as a stimulant. It's like a drug. It might be a somewhat safer drug for a period of time, but it is still synthetic. It is still fractionated. It is a drug. It is not going to repair your body, maintain health, and improve your health over time. Only food, real food, non-genetically modified, no synthetic pesticides, fertilizer food is what does that. So, how are you going to keep slim during the holidays? Do you have a plan in place? No, probably most people don't. And if you don't have a plan in place, guess what's going to happen? Same thing that's happened year after year, decade after decade. You're going to pile on those pounds, and that's what happens for the typical person. So, the first step in maintaining your weight over this holiday season is to have a plan. Now, many patients do ask me, well, what am I supposed to do when I go over to friends and family and so forth and so on, and they have all this food? Well, there's a couple of things. First thing is you can choose what meal you're going to participate in. So there's basically 3 meals, right? You have the Thanksgiving dinner, you have Christmas, and you have New Year's, perhaps. Although that one doesn't seem to be as popular. That's more of drinking rather than eating. Although that's going to help pack on the pounds too. Anyway, so what you do, first thing, is you choose which meal you're going to participate in. And then that's the only one you have, and you let your friends and family know that so that they can expect it. Or you just don't really eat anything like the desserts during the other meal. So you can have the turkey and the beef or whatever it may be, but not all the breading and the stuffing and all the desserts and all those things that really pack on the weight for the second meal. So enjoy the first one, whichever one you choose, not the second one. It's a very simple thing to do. Also, what you can do, let's say that you're at a social function, maybe a business Christmas party or the like, and really you don't have to even participate as far as the eating in that whatsoever. So you can have the dessert on your plate, and as you're walking around and enjoying the social activities, you know what you can do? Well, you can just, once you get by a trash can, kind of put a bite, just slice it off with your fork and throw it in the trash can. It looks like you're eating it, but it's not going to go into your body. Or you can just refuse it. You have to be prepared ahead of time, saying, you know what, actually, my body's very sensitive to those things. I really appreciate the offer, but I'm going to have to decline it. Is that really hard? Not really. So those are just a couple of tips of what you can do to maintain your weight during the holidays. Now, of course, the other things beside food that is going to create your body's willingness to gain weight readily is actually the stress, and the two of them combined, the food and the stress, is not a good combination. So what can you do to mitigate the stress? Well, number one, planning ahead as far as what social activities and And if you're going to have to hold parties and things, that can help. Also, have a spending limit. That can help. But beyond that, what are some of the things that you can do to mitigate the effects of stress on your body? Well, one thing is definitely exercise, low impact exercise, 20, 25 minutes, couple, 3 times a week will help lower the amounts of cortisol, which tend to pack on that weight around your waist during these stressful times. Another simple activity that you can do is actually what's called rest. Now, that's when I say rest, that's not what you typically think of rest of, taking your shoes off and relaxing in the recliner and watching television. That is not rest. What I mean is it is a relaxed but aware state. Let me repeat that. A relaxed but aware state. So here's a few guidelines when you're actually participating in these moments of rest. Number 1, you cannot have anyone around you, and you cannot have anyone disturb you. So you have to be away from your spouse, you have to be away from your children, and your animals. Now, the next thing is do not have any kind of telephones or any other kinds of mobile devices around you. You cannot be disturbed because what you are going to be doing, you're going to be very busy resting. Okay? So those are the first 2 things. No one to disturb you and no devices to disturb you. Now, you can rest in your home. It's better to do it outside because the natural light and so forth can be very restful. However, if the weather is not permitting, then do it inside. And what you do is you try to turn your mind off. So this becomes a mental discipline. Often what happens when you're just sitting there with your eyes closed is that your mind starts thinking about all these different things you have to do and should have done and will do and blah, blah, blah. That's not restful. We're trying to get your mind also to rest. We're trying to get your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system, to rest for a few moments of time. So you have to practice this, and the more you practice it, you will actually be able to control your thinking. Some things that will help is that you can think back to a time in which you really enjoyed, maybe a vacation, whatever the case may be, and just visualize that particular time in your life, and you'll find that it helps you to relax. Or you can just mentally learn how to control the thinking so that you only think about resting. You see, that was a few moments of rest. Isn't the silence kind of nice? So here's an interesting fact, is that your body during moments of rest, and what I mean about moments of rest is, take 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, if you can, 10 minutes every day. And during those times of rest, it has been found that your body actually heals more than when you are asleep. How many of you have slept 8 hours? You wake up in the morning and you still feel exhausted. You feel like a truck ran over you. You see, that's because your body, your mind, your nervous system was actually not at rest. And so when you consciously work at creating that rest effect within your body can heal rapidly, especially if it is consistent. So I encourage you to do that. Now, other techniques that you can use to mitigate the effects of stress over the holiday season that will pack on the pounds is visualization techniques. There's a simple one. Many of you may already know it, but I'll just briefly go over it. You can either do this just before you go to sleep or when you're setting down. In fact, you can use this as part of the relaxation, the rest period. And you can start at your toes and consciously relax all the muscles in your toes and your feet. Work up your ankles into your calves and all the way up to the top of your head, consciously relaxing every muscle. And continue to do that for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5, 10 minutes. And at the end of that time, you will be amazed at how relaxed you actually feel. So that actually is a very, very good technique. So those are just a few tips to help you through the holiday season to maintain your weight and your health. And also keep in mind that those desserts, those foods that you are likely to participate in eating are likely also genetically modified, full of pesticides, full of hormones, full of antibiotics. Basically poisons that will destroy your health. And so also give it some thought. Is it really worth it to participate in those meals at all? There are many who don't, including myself. So, are you ready for optimal health? You know, the best way that you can have optimal health, if you are actually a nutrition case, a nutrition response testing case, is a health improvement program. But the only way to know if you are a nutrition response testing case or not is to have an initial consultation. The best way to get an initial consultation is free. That is the best way to get an initial consultation at no charge, and there's a way that you can do that. The way that you can do that is by going to our next free health seminar. The next free health seminar is entitled How to Feel Good Again. Wouldn't it be nice to feel good again and to feel good all the time? Well, that's what we're going to be discussing at this next free health seminar. This past week, we had our health seminar. It was about libido and what you can do to increase it. And we discussed several different subjects. In fact, we talked about the hormonal aspects of the endocrine system. And we talked about how the circulatory cardiovascular system fits into that scene as well. We had no seats available. There was standing room only. So that is how our free health presentations typically are. I highly encourage you that if you wish to come to our next free health seminar that is entitled, once again, How to Feel Good Again, and it's going to be held Tuesday, November 27th at 7 p.m. at our clinic on John Stockbauer. It's called the Natural Health Clinic, which is 3908 John Stockbauer, Suite C, as in cat. If you wish to attend that seminar, then you need to RSVP, unless you enjoy standing. Maybe you're going to stand for exercise. But if you don't want to do that, then you need to RSVP. And to do that, you need to call our office. The number is 361-575-4683. And just tell Tanya that you want to attend the next free health seminar. And when you do attend that free health seminar, then what is going to be offered to you is a completely free initial consultation. Is there any better price than that, than free? I don't think so. Especially for something that is as worthwhile, that is truly as priceless as your health. So think about that. I am offering to help you with your health at no charge for the initial consultation. That's a pretty good offer. So to take us up on that, once again, attend our next free health seminar entitled How to Feel Good Again, which is going to be held Tuesday, November the 27th at 7 p.m. Well, that's it for this week, folks. I'm your host, Labron Allen. This is Health Alert. Make good choices, and you can improve your health. Thanks for listening.